What's good? You are listening to Daniel and Gian Talk Shit. I am Gian.
And I'm Daniel.
And before I get started today, I just want to give a, I don't even know what you want to call it. I want to just mention that our hearts go out to the victims in Las Vegas from the shooting last night. I really don't want to give too much attention to this. It's just, it keeps happening. I feel like this is the most in the last, I don't even know how many years, but it feels like every year there's another mass shooting, and they're increasing. The frequency of them are increasing, and it's sad. I don't know what the cause of it is. You know, if you go on Twitter, everybody has an assumption, but none of it's been proven. None of it's right. You know, so far there's no connection to ISIS. You know, people are saying the guy converted to Islam. There's nothing stated about that.
Well, ISIS said that.
Well, yeah, but there's other people. ISIS claims everything.
I know. I'm just saying.
I feel like by this point, you should be smart enough to know that every time ISIS claims something, it's probably bullshit, because they've claimed everything. Anytime anything happens, you drop a glass in your kitchen, ISIS claims it. You know.
As long as someone dies as a result of you dropping that glass.
Right. But I mean, yeah, we're making fun right now, but still, it's just. I don't know how you feel, man. I really don't want to get into it. Honestly, I don't want to go into an anti-gun rant. I don't want to get into any sort of political thing
it's not
about
even
it.
about guns. It's not about guns at all. I mean, it's how do I say it? It's a human problem. At this point, I think it's a human problem. Period. At the end of the day, you can restrict guns, people are still going to get them. You can restrict ammunition, people are still going to get it. You can restrict magazine size, people are still going to get it.
But something's happening now that's causing these things to be more frequent than they used to be, because you never heard about these things. If you look at old newspaper clippings, people weren't going and shooting up people.
Well, I mean,
every year, every couple months even.
Okay, but put it this way. If you had guns in the hands of people from 300 years ago, there might be more shootings. There might be more things. Guns are relatively new as we know them today.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the 1970s when our gun laws were like less restrictive.
Sure, that's what I'm just saying. I think it's a course of history. At the end of the day, they're still human beings. My biggest problem is, and it's not even a political thing. It's more of a question, because it's not about because Trump today didn't call the guy a terrorist, right? But neither did Obama, neither did anybody. No one calls these people terrorists. They called terrorists from the Middle East or people like that terrorists.
I feel like...
So my question is, do they not do that because a lot of people like to say it's a race thing. Oh, he's white, so he's not a terrorist. That's why they never say it. Or do they not want to make that association with what we know as of like terrorists, what we think of terrorists?
I think
I
think the term terrorist just confuses people way too much, so...
They try to keep it streamlined?
Yeah, I think so. Because when you start calling other people terrorists, it confuses them. Because, I mean, every day, this is going off my Facebook posts, reading people's Facebook posts, reading people's Twitters, you know, everything I see on the internet. There has been this amount of dumb people for thousands of years.
Right. I think that's
but
my point.
These dumb people didn't have a voice. So now you can't go out and call everybody a terrorist, because automatically they're just stupid, so they get confused in their head. And they start making things up. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to say that. I just think this is messed up. I mean, the real thing is, I feel like we really need to start concentrating on the victims and their families. And, you know, this unfortunately takes away from the crisis that's happening in Puerto Rico right now.
Yep.
You know, it's like perfect timing. All kinds of drama happening.
And you're not doing conspiracy talk. It's just
no.
That's just the way just the way the world works.
Right.
Because it was starting to build up, the whole Puerto Rican thing, because they were like, because Trump is just being Trump about it. I mean, they're Americans down there. That's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. At the end of the day, they're Americans. They pay taxes.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't pay as much taxes, or...
I mean, you don't have to qualify that. That doesn't need to be qualified.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah, maybe you don't have to do all X, Y, or Z, but they're still citizens. They still have citizenship.
They're still citizens. They still, if you're...
They don't have their green cards. They don't have all that. They're citizens.
No, they're citizens. And if you're a military supporter, a substantial amount of Puerto Ricans have fought in from World War II on to this day. The military is made up, is heavily comprised of people from the island of Puerto Rico. Because that's how they go and get you. And this is me, if I want to get racialized, the military goes out and recruits brown people.
We've spoken about that with Ace when he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because he was I wouldn't say victim, but he was one of the people who got, I guess that's the best way to put it. I mean, it was a choice at the end of the day, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a choice.
But when you have no other choice, or you think you have no other choice, then
Absolutely.
I don't know. I just think it's. I mean, I think this is the Texas shooting 2.0. Because the guy, whatever was going on, he knew what he was doing to a certain extent.
Right.
I mean, I don't know intent. We don't know intent. I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days, the coming weeks. But I mean, if you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it. And I've talked about that on this podcast before, where the scary thing is not ISIS blowing something up. You know, they're not going to come here, like the group themselves. They're not going to come over here on a boat and try to attack us.
No.
They're not going to, you know, it's the people that they're going to, and I'm not contributing these two. I'm not equating the two. I mean, I'm just saying it's the people that you don't suspect when you just go about doing things. You know, there's this attack, and then there's the Ariana Grande one where they blew up, and then the Eagles of Death Metal. And these things where you have a lot of people where if you're not suspected, you can just go do things. Do you think they're going to start checking bags at hotels now?
I don't know. See, that's that we start getting into this gray area where
I think they will.
Do you start giving up your rights though? Because there's people going to be like, you know, they're protesting. People don't like the TSA at the airport right now. People hate the TSA, and people don't want the TSA to happen because they feel like it's a violation of their rights in the name of safety. And that if you're scared of big government, things like this will cause government to grow bigger, and it's just.
Well, maybe it's not the government. Maybe the casinos will institute it.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have to think about something, you know? I mean, this is, I don't know, you know? And to go back to those other mass killings in Europe, the one difference from that and this is that Europe's proximity to the Middle East.
Oh, they're landlocked.
Yeah.
So they can just infiltrate the country.
Exactly.
They can't do that here.
No, they can't.
But again, I'm not equating that this is, but I'm just saying it's just. Again, I've said it on the podcast. I could easily go to the store right now, buy some guns, and kill some people. I'd die, but I would get away with a few before any, because no one's gonna suspect me. Obviously, I can't get a gun right now, but you know what my point is,
right?
You know, if I had a gun or whatever, it's too. I'm not gonna say it's too easy. This isn't about gun rights or anything. I'm just saying that's how. If you're not watching people, you can't suspect them. That's what's scary to me is the people you. I mean these. At a country music concert of all things. I mean, I don't like country music, but I wouldn't, you know. And the thing is, and what's my takeaway from last night, because I kind of caught it like right when it happened, like within 30 minutes, and I was on the coverage the whole night. So I was there from when I wasn't there, but I was watching as it went from 2 dead, and I was like, man, there's no way there's going to be only 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw it just from the little footage, the little clips. I'm like, there's no way there's 2 dead, none. And then they interviewed this guy, and he was full of blood, and he was like, yeah, you know, I went back to save people and this and that, but everyone behind me is dead, and there's at least like 30 people there, blah, blah, blah. And this is before the numbers were officially released. And I was just like, man, and I say all this to say, the Americans' lack of like real war type of experiences, because like in the Middle East, I feel like, I don't know, I've never been there, but I feel like there's a sense of anything can happen at any point. Because things do happen over there. Not in every single country.
You mean like head on a swivel?
Yeah, where you're kind of aware of like, oh, that's what a gun sounds like. That's what a drone strike sounds like. That's what this sounds like.
Right, as opposed to firecrackers.
Fireworks, 100%. Because so there was a, you know, Dan Blazarian, the big Instagram guy, right?
Yeah.
So I guess he was at that concert. And he Instagram storied himself, and he was like, as soon as it started happening, he already was, because he already knew what it was.
Yeah.
He knew what that sounded like, and he was like, yeah, someone's got shot in the face right next to me, and you can hear the gunshots in the background as he's doing this thing, and then I guess he went home, got his gun, and went back to like try to help out.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, he was a Navy SEAL or whatever. That's controversial, but the point is like, I don't know what I would have thought in that situation, because why would you expect gunfire, you know? I mean, but at the same time, I played a lot of war games, so I would know that like there's a difference between the two.
I mean, the thing, I'm just still waiting on a motive more than anything. Like, did he leave a note saying why he
did kill himself.
He did kill himself, you know?
when they breached the room.
I mean, if we want to go conspiracy theories, they always seem to kill themselves. They always seem to kill themselves.
Well, they might have killed him, and they said he killed himself.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Like, you never seem to get answers. These guys always die. But I don't know. I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just think it's sad, and I feel bad for my heart goes out to the people in Las Vegas, and honestly, I would rather we still focus on Puerto Rico, and then I think everyone on Facebook, if you want to do something about this, don't post about it. Post about Puerto Rico. Get people. Donald Trump's not flying out to Puerto Rico. He's flying out to fucking Vegas because some people got shot at a fucking country music concert. You know what I mean? And that, like, okay, so he doesn't go and fucking visit
literally the whole nation of Puerto Rico is.
Yeah, he doesn't visit the millions of brown people, but he goes to
I know,
to
and
check
that's
in on.
because that's the only. That,
I mean,
that's as political as I would make this whole thing,
And-
because it's not. You're not devaluing the people that
No, not
died
at all.
or the hundreds of people who are injured and probably might end up dying, because that death toll is not. That's
No,
not
there's
It's gonna
people
go up.
injured, and
It's gonna go
just
up.
from whatever their wounds are. I'm sure it's gonna go up, and it sucks and it's sad. But the president's coming out for that. President's coming out. It's a country music concert, and I mean, let's not get it twisted. We know what the demographic for country music is. I wonder. I hate to be this guy, but I wonder if it was a hip hop concert, if he'd come out, if he'd say anything at all, because so far his behavior patterns don't support that. So far,
Do you think he would have came out to Florida if he were president during Florida? That nightclub, the 49 people who got killed, it wasn't a gay nightclub too, right?
I don't know if he would. No. Yeah, it was a gay nightclub. A gay nightclub full of mostly Hispanics.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's the ratings, man. I mean, you can't even argue with that anymore. When he went to Houston, he was talking about the ratings and this and that. He pardoned Joe Apiro or Pyro, whatever the fuck, however you say his name is. The day of the storm, first day of the storm,
Yeah.
because he thought the ratings would be better. Well, I mean, this isn't a movie.
Where are his supporters at? Like, why aren't they condemning him? Like,
Well, they're definitely posting and like changing their Facebook avatars
Just a
to
little
something.
bit.
Well, no, I'm saying they're the ones.
Yeah.
They're the ones like, "Oh, let's not talk about Puerto Rico. We gotta care about Americans here. That's probably what it is. That's we gotta change our Facebook avatars. We're with you, Vegas. Of course, we're with all these people. Why does it have to you? The government is big enough where we could provide for both. Okay, and then at the end of the day, I feel like the government has a responsibility to help out Puerto Rico. They don't have a responsibility to help out these concert
No,
people.
they still have their domestic services available. They're landlocked. They have state of California. They have Arizona.
And it's a private matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously there's a shooting, so the police is involved, but
But I'm saying they killed the guy. They killed the suspect. And unfortunately, it's not like every person who gets murdered, the government comes in and says, "Okay, we're going to help you. We're going to do this."
Right.
But if a hurricane comes, that's a different story.
Well, there's nothing. Okay, I get your point. There's nothing the government can do now that the shooting is over. There's not a damn thing they can do.
They can't bring people back to life.
No.
They're not going to give them free health care.
And they're not out of, like, Vegas is not out of supplies.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
To help them,
There's a difference between the two. One is a legitimate concern because it's a nation with no power. No power. I mean, when you have Elon Musk sending over, I think he sent over some like Tesla, I don't know what they're, Tesla generators or whatever. He's sending shit over there.
Right.
Is he ever going to run for president? I don't know. But doing shit like that, I'd rather vote for him than someone who's a quote-unquote politician or a Trump or whatever. Because, yeah, he might have some crazy ideas, I don't know about, because he wants to do that underground railway system for Los Angeles to reduce traffic, which sounds great, but it's like, well, we also live on tectonic plates. Is this drilling going to trigger earthquakes? Like, I'm sure he's thought about all this stuff. But
I mean, if we want to talk about how crazy he is, he's dating Amber Heard. So, like,
after he basically stole her from...
Well, after all the shit that came out between her and Johnny Depp, and he's still like so.
Because he wanted her from Jump Street,
well,
and he just kept at it.
Yeah.
And now look at what he. I'm just saying consistency.
That
and
just tells me
preservation.
he's got some issues. He's a different kind of issue.
He's smart though, but he's at least he's using his billions to help people out.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to help out Puerto Rico.
No, he doesn't need to help out anybody.
I mean, he might be doing it for like I said, maybe some sort of presidential run or something.
I'd love to have a conversation with the guy. He's Canadian, so he can't run for president.
Oh, he's Canadian?
Yeah, he's not.
I thought he had dual citizenship.
It doesn't matter. You have to be born in America.
Oh,
You have to be
that's right.
a born
That's
American
true.
citizen.
Oh well,
So if you're born, even if you're born in Puerto Rico,
everything changes.
if you're born in Puerto Rico, you can't run for presidency.
That's why Trump didn't go, because they weren't born.
You're a born American citizen, but you can't run for president. That's weird, right?
Well, until they're a state, right?
Until they're a state, yeah.
Which
Which is not going to happen.
I doubt.
No, the
happen.
infrastructure's so messed up, and just everything's falling apart there. You'll see it now. I mean, there's so many issues. My dad he would talk about the dam. They have a dam there.
The one that's failing, or is that another dam? I know there's one that's failing, and they had to evacuate like 2 or 3 towns.
Yeah, if it's the one I'm thinking of, there's a dam near where my grandma's house is, and it's full of sediment. So it's like a really shallow dam. And the water reserve, and my dad's like, they need to go in there and dig that shit out,
right,
and get all the sediment out, but they don't do it. So the thing overflows all the time, and like the water reservoir is low because they don't dig out the sediment from the dam, and that might be the issue again. It's flooding again, and they can't hold on to. It rains there all the time.
Well, do you blame Puerto Ricans for that, or do you blame American government?
I blame Puerto Rican government for sure. They haven't. And
so do you think there's
part of like Puerto Rico's
to Trump's statements? When he's saying like that they just want a handout and they should be able to do some certain things for themselves.
No way. No, because they just went bankrupt. They got no money. People have been leaving the islands like
but
crazy.
This has been a problem for this. I'm sure this damn thing has been a problem for more than just the last.
There's been crooked politicians in Puerto Rico. I'm not going to deny that at all. But you know what? Most of them have been funded by the Americans, so they have American interests, and they're like basically
that's how they get elected.
Yeah, that's how they're placating. But now that everything's fallen to shit, no one's taking responsibility for it. So these guys, it's the ones that are pushing for statehood are the ones that messed everything up on the island.
They want their forgiveness. They want their debt forgiveness.
Right, and they even did some stupid shit. That was like they're super capitalist, but then they did some super anti-capitalist shit where they passed a bill making it more expensive for like outside companies to start businesses there, which like basically pushed a lot of like businesses out. It would just make any sense at all. Like you should let as many people in there as possible to start businesses and work. I mean, I can't really. I'm not 100%. I'm not super educated on the matter, but things have been messed up there for a while, and things have been messed up since the Jones Act was passed. Like that's another thing. Like getting goods on the island is super expensive because to take care of it has to get shipped to America first and then brought back exactly
to the island.
And it's like the ultimate. It's like ultimate cronyism.
Don't soldiers have to take it back too?
I'm not sure about
that. Like it has to be on a union ship or not. It wouldn't be unions if it was soldiers, but doesn't it have to be like a union? Isn't there? I don't know. I mean, it's a
maritime law requiring shipments of goods between 2 U.S. ports to be made with American flagged vessels manned by American crews.
So that would probably be union. Then,
yeah.
At that point.
But it's like a bit of cronyism because it's like, oh, we're gonna hook you up and make sure you guys get paid a ton of money to ship these goods over.
It makes sense. Except if it weren't a fucking American territory. Like if it were Cuba and that was a law for Cuba, okay, whatever. But if this is an American territory.
I mean, does it really make sense? It doesn't make sense. It was created to put a stranglehold on the island to make sure that they were not able to be self-sufficient.
For Cuba. Americans don't want Cuba to continue to be Cuba.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's sure.
I'm just saying. I'm not defending it. I think there's a lot of problems that I can't speak on because I don't know enough to comment on it. I just feel like
the fact that
government
just think of it this way: the fact that he didn't waive it right away because he said he was going to piss off some of the people that benefit from it financially if he did it.
That says it all.
Yeah, right then and there. So
who he cares about.
Well, it just shows what the Jones Act is. It's something that benefits people financially. It's not anything.
Oh, I think it is a punter, but I think that's what it is.
And it's made to keep the island under the daddy's foot. You know what I mean? They keep their foot on your neck because you can't get cheaper goods from other countries. You pay more for food and you have to do it. There's no it's like for such a capitalist place, it's such an anti-capitalist piece of legislation.
That's how they maintain it though, for themselves.
Right.
They want.
Yeah, it's cronyism.
They want their capitalist schemes to work.
It's been happening since 1922. That's the thing. Like
they don't want your capitalist schemes to work. But it's just a weird situation in general because I'm talking about Puerto Rico because hurricane season's still not over. That's the thing. There could be another one.
I don't know if another one's gonna hit this year.
It could be. You don't know. Hurricane season ends in November. Now we're getting close to that, but you can't predict the weather that far in advance. I'm just saying something could form, and it doesn't even have to be major. It could just be another storm. That's the point. They can't handle another storm, let alone. I mean, even if they get past this season without another one, it's not like there's not going to be a hurricane season next year.
Right.
So they have another what? What does hurricane season
Well,
start?
they have to have there's a year where they need to figure out the infrastructure.
Less than a year.
Well, basically, they need to rebuild the island and make it hurricane proof.
In less than a year.
June
with
1st
no
through
money.
November 30th.
So they have 8 months, 10 months to do that
Right.
with no money and no support from our government either.
Right.
Clearly. Because, I mean, he went over there and the mayor of San Juan, or whatever she is.
She's the mayor, yeah. She wasn't even really talking shit. She was just saying, hey, we need more people here. We're not getting enough help. And then, oh, well, you guys don't know how to.
You're ungrateful. And it's like, what?
It's ridiculous. And people have been. I went there for my grandma's funeral in June, and people have been fleeing the island ever since the bankruptcy thing. People have been leaving like crazy. So there's less people living there. There's less doctors. There's less just any sort of infrastructural positions are gone. They're gone. They came to the U.S. They're living here now. People have been leaving their cars at the airport, abandoning their cars, getting on airplanes, and boom, coming to the States. Just like that. So you have abandoned cars. You have the place is like it's slowly getting evacuated, and now this shit happens. So you already don't have the people there on the ground because most of them have left.
Trump's probably like, yes. Cool,
You know?
I don't have to worry about that shit anymore. Because, people don't care. That's the thing. People don't care. And it's not because they're heartless or they're assholes or whatever. It's just they're not aware. They don't because if let's say, I don't know, a storm happened in New York and there was power outage of the whole city of New York, you better damn believe that there'd be help and they'd make sure to get power back, whatever, overnight.
Right.
It's not even a question. But like you said, because there's some brown people on an island, you know, it's one of those things where, oh, I'm not saying everyone thinks Puerto Rico's third world, but they might as well be third world to them because they have no knowledge of it.
I kind of want to go on the street and do like those World Star videos where the guy just asks them like basic questions
About Puerto Rico?
Yeah, and just ask people like, do you need a passport to go to Puerto Rico? See how many answers we get.
I wouldn't know.
You don't know? Look at you. You're you'd be one of the idiots on the video.
I would be.
You don't need a passport because it's a fucking American territory. Why would you need a passport to go to America?
I don't know.
Do you need a passport to go to Hawaii?
No, that's a state though.
That's still America. You don't
Well, I
need
don't
a
know.
passport.
See, territories I don't know about. I don't know
It's
the
a
laws of
commonwealth.
territories.
If you're an American citizen and American citizens live there, why would you need a passport?
I don't know because it's not a state.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
State's just part of the union. Washington D.C. isn't a state. You don't need a passport to go to Washington D.C.
Yeah, well, that's the capital of our country.
That's still it's a territory.
It's also within
It's a district.
It's within our borders too.
Okay, do you need a passport to go to Alaska?
No,
It's not within our
but
borders.
if you stop in Canada, you do.
Yeah. Well, if you fly into Alaska, you don't need a passport.
Sure. They recommend you have one if you take a boat. If you take a cruise to Alaska, though.
Just in case you stop at a Canadian dock. That makes sense though, because you're stopping at a Canadian dock.
I'm just saying. They recommend it. I understand what my point is yeah, you're just proving your point that you're right. You probably could ask that and people wouldn't know because I didn't even know that. But that's not a Puerto Rico thing. That's just my lack of knowledge with shit outside this country, period.
No, absolutely.
But I'm just saying though, with in regards to Trump and the whole situation, you have to think every single this is what gets me. Every single interview that I've seen in Puerto Rico, you can just hear the generator in the background. That's all I need to know that it's real. I'm not saying that it was fake, but anytime there's any sort of interview, you just hear the generators in the background. And it's not because of the lights, it's because they have nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. I think if people knew or they understood or maybe their complexion wasn't as dark, and they're not even that dark, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Well, some are, some aren't, but that's neither here nor there. It's definitely, the situation's dire. There's a lack of potable water, so people have no drinking water. There's a lack of food. A lot of things got wiped out.
It's because of the oceans, man. They're survived by big water.
Well, I mean, part of the food problem is like there's very little which agriculture there that's like self-farmed because of the Jones Act, basically. There's a story when the U.S. came into Puerto Rico. There was a lot of sugarcane fields, and slowly but surely they basically burned all the sugarcane fields. So that was like one of the major resources
Literally
from the
burned
island.
them?
They burned the fields down. There's no sugarcane fields in Puerto Rico anymore. That was one of its biggest.
Who do we get sugar from?
Now Hawaii's got
Is that why?
sugarcane. It's not why. The reason why is to make sure that the people weren't able to fucking revolt because they have nothing. If they wanted to go independent, they have nothing to sell. They have no.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because Hawaii has it, so we don't need you guys to do sugar. So
That could be part of it, But at that time, Hawaii wasn't a state yet. Hawaii didn't become a state until the 1950s.
See, I didn't know. I don't know the historical.
Hawaii was a territory too
timeline.
for the longest time.
Well, no, I don't know the timeline of Puerto Rico, so I don't know when they started burning sugarcane fields.
I'm gonna say probably like the 1940s, 1950s. The 1950s when a lot of legislation started getting passed that really started screwing the island over. And that was like, just think about us right around the time that the Cuban Revolution was happening. So they didn't want them getting any ideas.
I mean, certain things make sense historically, but the problem is, I think it's true still today. I don't think they can predict the ramifications of their actions. Even if they try to, life is life. It's gonna do a bunch of shit. And then two, I still don't think they put that much effort into even possibly thinking about them at all, regardless if it was gonna come true or not. Because I mean, yeah, that might make sense in the moment. Yeah, we don't want another Cuba happening because Cuba then is not Cuba now.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate concern. I mean, the Cuban Missile Crisis was a real thing. Obviously, what you're talking about happened before that, but the point is that you can't have three Cubas there. You can't have Puerto Rico also being a Cuba, a Soviet-backed country so close. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but they're not thinking about what you just said.
In the 1930s and 1940s, the local Puerto Rican government enacted policies to stifle the growth of large cane farms.
Well, I mean, what can you do about it now, though? That's the thing.
According to Minneapolis Fed.
Because of all the things you said, is there even a solution to fix the problems that are there? I mean, even if the government came in and helped everybody,
you need a lot of intervention from the U.S., which they're not willing to give.
Because but what can they do though?
What do you mean? What can they do?
Well, what would they do? Do they
to help the island?
Yeah, they provide welfare.
They need to get rid of the debt. That's the one thing. They need to get rid of the debt and start rebuilding the infrastructure.
Can they default on
They
their
can't
loans?
default on it because in 1980 something that some governor in South Carolina got a bill passed that prevented Puerto Rico from being able to default on.
That's why they want to become a state so they can default
yeah,
on it.
But then if, according to that Joe Rogan guy, the guy on Joe Rogan's podcast, if they do that, that's going to make things worse because it's going to raise the prices of all this, the meager money they make right now because the minimum wage there is lower than the federal minimum wage here in the States. They can stretch their dollar farther because they don't pay federal taxes.
But then they're going to have to if they're a state.
They're going to have to, and so all of a sudden that little bit of money they make is going to start going away. There's just a lot of issues on the island, and most of it is because of the U.S. policies that are causing it from.
Yeah, but it sounds like if you take those policies out, they'd be screwed.
It's
kind of a catch-22 where they can't do anything.
The island is in a place right now where they've been so screwed over in the past that there's nothing they can do. So the best thing to do is remain a territory because if they go independent, they have no commerce. They have nothing to sell to make them survive. And if they become a state, the taxes become so high and ridiculous.
It's probably a good time to buy property.
Yeah, that's funny
right
enough.
now.
When that guy was talking on that podcast, that's the first thing I thought about was like, man.
Especially now after the hurricane, too.
Yeah. I mean, just getting something cheap and sitting on it. Honestly, the best thing they could do is for people to kind of, Tanya was against this kind of stuff, but
buying the island,
letting Google come in and start building shit there.
I think they should do that. Why is that not a thing?
Well, because there's people there that don't want this.
You mean like low wage workers type
They don't
thing?
want American influence coming in because what happens is these companies come up, they don't start hiring local people. They start bringing in people from the mainland onto the island, and that doesn't really help the island's economy. And then because right now this is an interesting thing going on this place, and in like places like Guam, where it's they're American citizens, but they have their own culture. It's a
I
different place.
understand
People
that.
speak Spanish there. People eat differently there. It's not.
But at what point do you sacrifice that and you say, okay, you know what? It's going to be up to us as parents to make sure our kids do it or whatever. Because
honestly,
it's like we're all human beings on this planet. You know, if you take the macro step, the step back, and you look at it, who fucking cares?
well, that's a different argument. That's a discussion about are you for globalism? Are you for a global economy? Do you want us to all become one homogenized, mixed melting pot?
I think we already are. I just think
I think we're starting to go that way because companies are
and the internet helps push
the internet's
that.
connecting us, but they're still. I mean, we have these reaction videos. We see the way people talk to us in India. They have a completely different perspective on things.
But I think that's a part of the
You know.
I don't think because I think you're equating globalism to like brainwashing, where we all need to do
No,
the
no,
same
no.
thing.
I'm not.
I'm
not
just saying
necessarily I just
if
think,
Google wants to come in, because does Google want to come in, or are you just making?
No,
I'm
I'm just making this out there. I
Okay,
mean,
so
I
then
think
we'll
it'd be
keep it to that.
I think it'd be a good place for a company like that because of the tax thing, because they're not paying as much taxes.
And Google actually does things like provide free internet, like as long
Yeah.
as you like allow them to track you, because they're going to continue to use that data to make a better company.
Well, not only that, but like per capita, there are more engineers that come from Puerto Rico than any other place in the U.S. So there's like educated people.
So they would benefit
Yeah.
eBay. I mean, not eBay,
And
but Google even more so.
And they would stop leaving the island to go work.
But
on
I'm
the
just saying, you
mainland.
could make it work. Okay, leave industry to the city if you want to. If eBay's only going to be allowed. What's the San Juan, right? That's the capital.
Yeah.
eBay's on. I keep saying eBay. Google's only allowed in San Juan. If you want to have a job there, you can come out and live in the city or whatever.
Right.
But the outskirts, maybe it's not like Walmart. They can't be like a Walmart and be in every corner. You can't have Google everywhere. But I'm just saying, there's a way to. It can't just be 100% against it because it's American influenced. I mean, you do have to sacrifice something to make it work. I mean, do you want to make it work, or do you want to keep your culture and be in a rut? I'm not saying you have to give it up either. It's just this weird thing where, Tanya's not here to defend herself, so I'm not making any accusations or anything like that. But I've encountered people like that, when it comes to Mexican things, or when you speak to first generation Mexican immigrants, and they want to maintain their culture, and of course it makes sense. They just got here. But I'm proof that eventually that crap goes away, and I'm not any worse of a person because of that.
Yes, you are.
To some people, but Mexico's still around. There's plenty of Mexicans out there who are maintaining that culture.
Well, yeah, that's
my argument to Puerto Rico
That's
too.
when you're going to talk about, you're going to anger some people out there who think there's Mexico's here in Los Angeles, or there's like
100%.
neighborhoods where it's just all Mexico and like they haven't assimilated whatsoever.
And that's true but that's the first second generation. You get to mine and beyond, that's not happening.
Not necessarily. I think you're
how many third or fourth generation Hispanics do you know that like are just as like chunt as when they first got here?
The difference is that your family is from a different generation where things were different in this country, where they weren't allowed to.
You had to blend in.
Yeah, you had to
assimilate.
assimilate. And like now, it just comes down to segregation, where now you land in neighborhoods where there'll be kids who have never been to Mexico who are, like you said, they're tuned as fuck, and they could be second, third generation and not even realize it because they haven't left their surroundings. And that happens. I could see that happening in LA like a motherfucker.
Of course,
because people don't leave their neighborhoods.
Echo Park. If you didn't have gentrification? I mean, that's basically Mexico right there. That's
right.
TJ. But that's the thing. Okay, so then because it comes down to it's really gentrification if Google comes in Puerto Rico, right? Because it's going to bring an industry. So it's a double-edged sword.
It's different. It's interesting. You'd have to go and experience it for yourself. I can't even explain how it is there because people there, they're not like Mexicans. So they don't.
I don't equate them to Mexicans.
They don't live like Mexicans either. It's.
Well, I've never been to Mexico, so I don't know what that means.
They
don't live in clay huts.
It's a little. I don't know how to explain the culture there, but you'd see there. You could talk to people because it's the educated people that don't want like the heavy American influence. It's not the poor people. Poor people don't give a shit.
Okay, well, is it a give and take? Can't there be a give and take?
No, I mean,
or is it everything? Is the give and take as a result? What's happening now is a result of the give and take.
This has more to do with statehood. I feel like when you go to that island, the one thing you'd have to do more than anything is to make sure that you employ the people that live there, which doesn't seem to happen. sometimes. We like, you know, that's the most important thing is if you're gonna start a company there, you need to employ people that are from there.
Oh, I agree.
And that's
Otherwise, what's
that's
the point of
easiest
going there?
that's the easiest way, well, to take advantage of legislation. That's why people go anywhere.
Well, no, I'm just saying though, like when Apple's building things in China, they're not going to bring Americans to build their iPhones in China.
Well, do you want to know why?
Yeah, because it's slave labor. Because they're going to get 13 cents per iPhone.
Right.
I understand that. I get it. I'm not. That's why I don't hate on all those counterfeits that they produce on the side. All those bootleg phones. Why not?
Right.
Why not?
Gotta make that side money.
Exactly, and they'll probably get killed anyway if they get found out, doing that stuff. But it's all. But at the end of the day, that's what's annoying about that stuff. You have a nation like Puerto Rico. They want the business. Maybe not Google, but they want business. They want to work. They want all this stuff. Why not open an Apple factory down there?
Yeah.
You don't have to charge. You don't have to pay them 13 cents because it's America. But you can make quality products down there. Why not build cars down? Well, obviously, if you're gonna have hurricane things like that, you have to be prepared for it. But you get what I'm saying?
There used to be a Coke factory there, and it got shut down.
But it's just like
I'm saying there's been things like that, and I think it goes back to legislation.
Because I don't agree with the guy that was on Joe Rogan. Well, you should probably look up his name because we keep name dropping him. But one of the things he said is like, oh, you should have no minimum wage. If I want to pay someone $1, that's $1 more than they had before. I don't agree with that sentiment because obviously if you don't have minimum wage, I genuinely believe no one would get paid a lot of money. His whole argument of, well, if you put more time in, then you'll end up, when you're in 30s, you'll have enough. No. That's not the way it works. If you're working in a factory at 18, you're going to be working in a factory at 30. You're not going to own a factory at 30.
No,
That's just
never.
not how it works. But I think there could be different wages for different types of thing, because I don't know. I just feel like there's a solution. I think there's a solution hidden in front of our faces. I think we're distracted by a lot of things, and because it's a political thing. How much say do the people have in Puerto Rico? Not much. They're still controlled by government, whether it's the U.S. government or their government, which is probably a puppet government or some sort of form of that, right?
Right.
So, that's the biggest thing. How much power do the people really have? Not much if they're divided.
I mean, how much power do we have?
A lot if we come together. But that's the thing. If we come together,
Even coming together, I mean, that's just your vote doesn't have as much weight as it used to have.
I was going to bring up the NFL because Trump kind of united people last week. Not this week, but last week.
He united and divided people at the same time.
And then I was watching videos of shit yesterday. I don't know. I'm not saying I believe Trump, but it looks like what he was saying is kind of true about ratings being down and people being not happy and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe the first week they were okay with it, but this second week, because I saw a few clips of like the Baltimore, I think it was the Ravens that kneeled like together as a team, and they were just getting booed like crazy. And it's just this weird situation where people don't understand. First of all, they don't understand the argument being presented.
No,
they don't really get why they're kneeling. The thing that's amusing to me is kneeling is not even disrespectful at all.
No, it's not turning your back. It's not burning the flag.
It's not pissing on it.
No.
It's not flipping it off.
No.
It's not doing anything. You're kneeling. It's kneeling. You're kneeling for God. You're doing. I get it, but it's just this weird political climate we're in. We can't even have conversations with people. We just can't about anything. Whether it's Puerto Rico, whether it's about the shooting, you can't talk to anyone about Las Vegas because, like you said at the very beginning, you're gonna throw up gun control. You're gonna throw up all this stuff, which doesn't really solve anything. It doesn't, unless you're gonna outright ban guns like Australia. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? There's nothing.
The ratings thing is interesting when it comes to the NFL. Because there's always an excuse.
For what? Bad ratings?
Well, not bad ratings. It's still a good rating. It's just down. Last night's Sunday Night Football game was down 5% from last week.
5% is not a lot to me. Nothing.
It's not that much.
Was it a good game? Were there good teams playing? Because if there weren't even good teams playing, then
there's the key. It was the Seahawks versus the Colts. The Colts' star quarterback has been injured all season. The Colts aren't very good. They got blown out last night.
Who's their quarterback?
Andrew Luck.
Oh, okay.
He's injured. So right off the bat, you got a team who's been pretty bad playing against the Seahawks, who are they've been a pretty good team for the last 7, 8
See, but
seasons.
if it was Seahawks Cowboys, I
It might
guarantee
be a
you
different
it
story.
wouldn't
Yeah.
be a 5% dip. Because I think that also matters. Not every team's a winner. Not every team's a team where you're like, all right, I want to watch them.
And then last week it was the Redskins versus the Raiders. The Raiders have a big fan base, and the Raiders were
Where are
good
they
last
playing?
season.
Now?
They're still playing in Oakland, but they're going to be moving to Vegas soon.
Oh, they haven't moved yet.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different factors here. And I don't know how to seriously take it because there's other things like the ratings.
I thought they got the confirmation they're moved to Vegas.
Yeah,
But they just haven't moved
they
yet.
haven't moved yet.
Got it.
They're still building the stadium. I think there's actually something slowing that process down as well. I'm not.
It's a good thing that they didn't play there. I don't know. It's weird. I wonder how that's going to... This last night might change that.
I mean, you know what's going to change is people going to Vegas for a while. They're going to be scared to go to Vegas. That's just. I mean, I feel like people are going to be scared to go to festivals now for a little while. It's gonna
Maybe they'll slow them down. Stop.
That's
doing
how this is how the terrorists are winning. You know,
taking away
They're
our
just-
country music,
they're
taking
just-
away our festivals.
they're just scaring people from leaving their house. You know, that's really.
I mean, it's true. It's a valid. I mean, again, we just equated him to being a Islamic terrorist. Well, you didn't do that, but by association,
you just did.
I did because, well, I mean, because we don't know his motive. But I slowly, I'm starting to think, man, it's like, fuck, do I want to go to this thing? Do I want to go do this? And then you always tell yourself, well, if you live in fear, and then there's no point in doing anything.
Right.
You just stay in the house all day. But there's becoming more and more places where you have to second guess things.
You know,
and that's what's
you know
what's
what has
irritating.
saved people last night? Everybody had guns because they would have been able to shoot the guy out of his fucking hotel room that was across the fucking street.
Up
Yeah,
on the 32nd floor.
yeah.
Jesus, could you imagine that for reals? Like, could you imagine if that was what, like, people had guns and they were drunk because they were at the festival or whatever?
Who knows?
They
They
would've
would have
just-
just shooting at anybody.
They would have just shot all up in that building. Even if first of all, if they wouldn't have found out about it. And it's just, again, I brought this up earlier, but I'm going to bring it up again. But the videos, what's crazy about it is just a lack of real world quote unquote knowledge of combat or war. And I'm not
Yeah.
even proclaiming to be in any of that stuff, but it's just, we Americans have it so good that you can see videos where they're like, it's not gunshots, it's just fireworks as they're laying on the
Yeah.
floor. And it's like they just don't know. People don't know.
Right.
And it's just, I don't care if I hear fireworks. I know fireworks are. If it was a fire, maybe the first like little burst, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have done anything. But to hear it consistently, I mean, living where I live, it's not like I hear gunshots all the time.
Right.
But I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, okay, was that a gun? No, that wasn't a gun. That was a firecracker. Okay,
Yeah.
what time of the year is it? We're in July. Okay, it's probably fireworks.
When you
Oh,
hear
it's-
some pops and it's going on in November, then there's cause for concern. I think.
Yeah, but if you get into December, you're getting closer to New Year, so
Right,
it kind of makes sense.
exactly.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's context. You got to think about it. Okay, how fast what are the intervals of the guns? Like, what is it, or what the fireworks? And that's the thing. It kind of sounds like firecrackers, because the reality of it is, you're a block and a half away from where the actual shooting is.
Right.
So you're just hearing reverb, really.
Right.
But you're also hearing the crack. That's how I personally would have known. Is you actually hear cracks as the bullets fly over you or whatever, because it's a bullet flying supersonic speed
Yeah.
over your head, and it's making these little booms. I don't know. It's just scary. But the thing is like, you're at a concert.
Yeah.
Concerts are loud, whether it's a country music concert or not.
Who knew?
But it's just like, is that going to screw up EDC?
It might. I mean, even if they put up metal detectors everywhere and they search everyone, it's not going to stop it from happening because it's happened from across the street at another hotel.
Another hotel.
There's going to be some shit.
I don't even know, really, and this is the one, I don't know how he I don't know how he shot out the window, genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
Every freaking Las Vegas hotel I've been in, you can't even, like, open it to get a breeze,
Right.
let alone, like, put a gun out the window. He must have, like, shot the window down or something. Or maybe
Absolutely.
you can have glass cutter, I guess. I don't know how you would do that.
I mean, how planned out was this? So who knows? But let's get away from this. We're just gonna talk in circles for a while. Let's talk about the return of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Well, to change subjects here, breaking news. We just found out rock and roll legend Tom Petty has just died at the age of 66. Looks like he had
Suffered a full cardiac arrest and was found unconscious and not breathing in his Malibu home Sunday night. Wow, Sunday night. He was taken to UCLA Santa Monica Hospital and put on life support. And then I'm trying to see. Yeah, that's all they said. But yeah, they confirmed to be dead.
Oh man, that's a bummer. Tom Petty's like one of those underrated artists. You know, he had like a ton of hits. He'd been around since the 70s. I know he performed at like 2 or 3 sold out shows at the Hollywood Bowl last week or 2 weeks ago.
Well, I mean he's a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame, but not only that, he's one of the few people where it's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Right.
It's not the Heartbreakers. It's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, the Heartbreakers are just the backup band.
Right. It's not. It's Tom Petty, which just goes to show, because you have to have a lot of like, well, first of all, confidence and self-worth to do that. But not only that, to have that name and then have it be accepted is another thing.
I feel like it was more common back in the 60s and 70s to do something like that. And I think it has to do with him being the songwriter. He's like the principal songwriter. They were his songs.
I'm just saying, but, today's
How
standards.
do you think the Heartbreakers feel now that they don't have a job?
Heartbroken.
Well, that sucks, man. R.I.P. Tom Petty. I mean, are you a fan? Is your mom a fan?
Yeah, I grew up on it. I wouldn't say that, like, they're on my top 40. I'm listening to Tom Petty, but if it comes on the radio, depending on what song it is, I might listen to it. But regardless if I like him or not, or I listen to it, I should say, doesn't take away from who he is, No, and what he's
That's not why I asked Dick.
Oh, well, no, I'm just saying, like, he's not my favorite artist, or he wasn't my favorite artist, but he's made good songs. He's a good musician, and he's contributed to music as a whole.
I mean, it's hard for an artist to span 3 decades of be relevant in 3 decades, and
in anything, whether it's music or not.
I think that's pretty special. For me,
more than 3 decades.
He was big. Well, that we can make an argument there, but he was big in the 70s. He was big in the 80s. He was big in the 90s. In the 2000s, I think he kind of fell off.
That's just carryover,
right? But
do you think the Rolling Stones are still big?
No, they're big because they're popular.
That's my
argument.
I mean,
relevant wise, like their music isn't you anyone anymore.
But you just said a few sold out shows just recently.
No, but you're confusing making money with being relevant.
Well,
on a cultural standpoint, he's not culturally. His songs aren't culturally relevant anymore. Like,
sure.
If he comes out with a new album in 2000, his songs aren't like, they're not getting people to pick up the guitar and.
Right.
In the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
That's most artists.
Yeah, definitely. But that's what I'm saying. But he had 3 decades worth of where he was inspiring people.
Where he was doing that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 100%. Plus, 66 is just young. For
nowadays, yeah, man. 66 is just crazy, man. My parents are in their early 70s, and it's rough to think about, man. I'm once the autopsy comes out, I want to see if he's still having a good time at 66.
Yeah, the article said no foul play suspected.
It's going to be a few days before anything comes
but you don't know until you actually, have that autopsy and see what actually is going on.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's sad. Thoughts go out to all his fans and his family and everything else like that, to the band.
He's up there. He just joined the greatest rock band in the sky.
Yeah.
Add another member.
Let's see.
Who's in your dead rock star Hall of Fame? Like, if you had to put a band together with the lead singer, 2 guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer, or you could get rid of a guitar player and throw a keyboard player in there. Who's up there for you?
I don't know, because there's a huge mix of people who've died. Like, let's just say Tom Petty were fronting the band. I don't know if Dimebag Darrell would necessarily fit in anything that Tom Petty would have to do.
So Dimebag would be your guitar player.
I can't have a band without Dimebag as lead guitar.
Okay.
Or a guitarist.
See, if I'm gonna have a Dimebag dead band, Freddie Mercury would be the lead singer, because I think Freddie Mercury and Dimebag.
Well, that'd be good, because they had that power metal stage in the early '80s before they were Pantera. Well, they were Pantera, but before they were Pantera.
I think they could do some crazy things together.
I think it'd be because Freddie Mercury's like an angel, or he was an angel, basically.
Right.
I mean, so there's those. He was a once in a generation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know what he would be doing now. if he were still alive.
Right. He'd be doing a show in Vegas.
Probably.
He'd be doing a weekly show in Vegas with like a crazy stage act. Just he'd be doing.
I don't know.
John
I don't know if I can't answer that question. Because like the musicians I like, I don't know if they gel together. I love Johnny Cash. He wouldn't. I don't know. Like him and Dimebag could play something acoustic.
He would try to sing Pantera.
No, I'm just saying though. Like,
Johnny Cash would sing Cemetery Gates.
That's not what I meant. But Dimebag did some country. I mean, they're all country influenced.
Well, not Pantera so much.
But no. But when Pantera disbanded and they kind of went solo, he was doing. He worked with some country artist. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
I know he did Damage Plan because when I moved down here, it's fucked up. I met his lead singer who was on stage when he got murdered right next to him. And like you could tell that's
another crazy thing. I mean, let's think about this for a second. I'm not going too detailed, but okay, that was 2004. And that was a big shock that someone actually went to a gig and shot someone.
Yeah.
Cut to 13 years later and how much has changed. Because obviously the guy last night didn't go shoot the lead singer, but I mean, just it just, it's all this circular thing. We keep circling back to it, but just like things are evolving. Either things are evolving or things are becoming more prevalent because of social media and we're seeing it more. I don't know. Because it's just interesting. But anyway, the band that I was referring to that he played some country was Rebel Meets Rebel, and it was David Allan Coe.
No idea who that is.
It was a country metal album. I just know because there's one song I like on it. And that's it. But anyway, yeah, I can't. What can you answer your question?
If we're gonna go dead metal,
just dead people in general.
Dead band. Well, there's like
that's the thing. It's the gelling together.
I think Freddie Mercury, Dimebag Darrell, Cliff Burton.
Cliff Burton as a bassist, that'd be cool.
And John Bonham as a drummer could put together some crazy shit.
Yeah, I would have to agree. As if who would be the leader of the band though? Would they be equals? Would it be Jesus? Would Jesus be their manager?
Jesus would be the manager. Jesus would be like, this needs more cowbell.
Because you have to think like when you have a supergroup, and there's not many supergroups that A exist and then B that like last because they feel like one-offs, but it's just like the personality thing.
Right.
Like, do you consider, in retrospect, the Beatles to be a supergroup?
No, because that band,
regardless of whatever that
band was all John Lennon and Paul. Like, I mean, it wasn't all. Obviously, George Harrison was important as a songwriter behind the scenes, but the main singers were Paul and John. And John went out. Just look at their solo careers. John went out, had a great solo career before he got murdered. Paul McCartney had a solo. He's still touring. He still has solo songs. People,
Not Ringo.
Ringo. No, not really. He didn't do anything.
Are there any bands out there right now that you would consider that were supergroups before they were supergroups? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, because I think someone can make an argument the Beatles were a supergroup, but I think I think your argument against that argument is valid.
Well, not only that, but they were already together as one. They didn't like come together from different groups.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like in retrospect,
you could make the argument that Audio Slave was a super group. They were pretty popular, and Chris Cornell with Rage Against the Machine, they did pretty good. What was the band with Scott Weiland and Guns N' Roses?
Oh, Velvet
Revolver.
Velvet Revolver. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say Velvet Underground,
but those bands aren't gonna stand the test of time for me, anyways. I don't think.
I guess my question was, what groups have come together as nobodies and then left to have really successful solo careers? Not many.
No. I mean,
not as an entire group.
No members of it. The Byrds.
Yeah, you got Led Zeppelin and Eric Clapton, who were a part of the Yardbirds.
And Jeff Beck was in that band too. Everyone in the Yardbirds. Well, 3 people from the Yardbirds became pretty fucking successful,
to say the least.
I mean,
I didn't know.
And then the
I didn't know
birds
Tom
themselves.
Morello was an Audio Slave.
Yeah, dude. Audio Slave was Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell as a singer. It was the entire Rage Against the Machine except for the singer.
And they are back together.
Who's the singer?
I'm looking.
Or Rage Against the Machine's together.
Oh, you know what? They were coming to they played one show to protest Trump's inauguration. And then they asked Cornell if they were going to get together, and they pretty much kind of like yes, and then
he killed himself.
And then he died. So no, guess that's not going to happen. But I mean, he's another one. That's another good singer too. Chris, I don't know what your thoughts on Chris
I think
were,
in my metal super dead group, I think I might. If I had to replace Freddie Mercury, I could put Chris Cornell in there because he could pull off the metal stuff too.
What about what's his name from Linkin Park?
No. Sucks that he died. I was never a fan of Linkin Park.
I enjoyed the Hybrid Theory. That was their big album.
That was their first one.
Yeah, that's it. That is literally it.
That was
not
like,
one song after that. Not one song after
funny
that.
enough, when they came out, I was like pretty big into rap rock. Like I was like,
I take that back. I like that mix-up they did with Jay-Z. But other than that, which was just a rehash of the songs from Hybrid Theory.
with Jay-Z.
With Jay-Z.
Throwing some flows over it. So I was into rap rock for a while. And when Linkin Park came out, that killed rap rock for me. Like when I heard him right then and there, I was like, okay.
It was different than rap rock. I wouldn't even consider it.
It was still rap rock, but it was like the second I heard that first song, I was like, okay, rap rock just became super commercial. It was super bubblegum.
Because it wasn't Slipknot. It wasn't who else was big? I mean Rage Against the Machine was
right.
was that
it lost that street cred for me. Linkin Park is what killed rap rock in my eyes.
Well,
I stopped listening.
I can't disagree with that.
I stopped listening to rap rock when Linkin Park came out, and then they became so mainstream. I don't want to be that fucking.
You can, because I won't argue against.
I don't want to be that fart sniffer, but when things like get
too popular,
they get too mainstream, they're just not as good anymore.
It's one of the reasons why I haven't seen Rick and Morty.
Oh, really? See, I feel like that's still, even though it's popular, it's not that mainstream.
Well, the thing is I need to discover it organically. I need to just have a Saturday night where I'm like, you know what? Let's throw it on.
You got this built-in hater in you.
Well, it's not the show, because I've seen like 2 clips of the show, and the first clip was the Simpsons thing where they did this like they killed the Simpsons or something like that because they went into the Simpsons world, and so I started to see like okay, it's not like a regular cartoon. There's like some maturity to it, and then there was another clip where, see, that's the thing. I don't even know which one's Rick or Morty, and I'll sound stupid, but the little boy.
That's Morty.
Okay, Morty. He was talking about
Marty. He's Marty McFly.
Okay, is that what it's been?
Yep, and
okay.
Rick is Doc Brown. It's making fun of.
Got it. It makes
Back
sense.
to the Future.
It makes sense. 100% makes sense.
I haven't watched it either. I have no idea what a pickle Rick is.
Yeah, me either. But there was a clip where Morty was being really like depressive, like just the things he was saying were just really really down, and I thought it was funny. I saw the humor in it because I could see like he's saying the most disgusting. You wouldn't want any human being saying it because it's just so down in the dirt. But I can see the humor in it because obviously the show's aware of itself. But I'd probably like it. But the thing is, it's just when it's so big now that people are just the pickle Rick thing. It's I start to wonder, do people actually understand the humor? Not that I've even seen the show, but I just start to wonder, do people understand the humor, or they're just joining a club because so and so says it's funny? Like the show that everyone was really into that I did not like. It was another Cartoon Network show. Oh my god, I completely blanking on it right now.
Metalocalypse?
No. That show was okay. It wasn't the greatest. It's like it reminded me of like these old Hanna-Barbera or whatever the
one where they're like at a camp?
I don't know. It's like some dude's like really strong and they're kind of like fuck.
Oh, and is he green? He kind of looks like Frankenstein?
No, I'm going to look it up cuz I'll never remember it. And as soon as I see the name, I'm going to punch myself. It was based off the show that had Haji was a character.
Oh, you're talking about Venture Brothers.
Venture Bros, yes.
Yeah.
That show.
Oh, I love Venture Bros, man.
I couldn't get into it. But that was a huge, like, it was big. It was, everyone was loving it, and I just couldn't get into it.
You know what? Part of that has to do, and I mean,
and I grew up on cartoons like that. I really did.
it's still not the same. I think there's a generational thing there because that show, like, I grew up watching Johnny Quest.
Johnny Quest, that's the one.
Because we didn't have cable, and that's what they'd show on reruns. So you'd be watching these cartoons from the '60s. So I knew about them.
Yeah, I told Johnny Quest. I couldn't think of it. But I remember Haji's name. That was his name. But I just forgot the show's name.
Brock Sampson is the shit, man. Come on.
I don't know. And I might not have. And I might have watched it at the wrong time.
No,
I was forced into watching that. It wasn't organic, and that's my thing. Is if it's organic,
I think stuff like, we want to talk about more mainstream stuff like Family Guy.
I liked it when it first came out.
If you didn't grow up in the '80s and you're watching it now, it's going to be kind of hard to relate to it because a lot of the references, it's like just heavily reference based. And there's a lot of stuff where if you don't grow up watching '80s TV, it's going to be like.
Well, that's why I don't know now. I haven't seen it in so long, but the early seasons of Family Guy were smart because there's a certain type of humor for cartoons.
Yeah.
Whether it be Family Guy, Simpsons, South Park, where you can't be a complete moron. You can, because there's certain gags that are just very simple. But if you really, really want to appreciate the show's writing and all the other stuff, you have to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
It's like watching, I mean, just it doesn't even have to be about pop culture.
South Park, you at least have to be up on the current events because they shoot everything that week. I haven't watched any old South Park episodes in a while. Like, I'm wondering if they still hold up.
Some of them do. Relevant. Some of them do, but the problem is they're so popular that the gags already.
Right.
Like, that this is the Jack Officer episode with Ben Affleck as an ass.
Right.
He's literally on the milk carton as an ass.
Oh my God. I laughed so hard. I don't think I can ever laugh again. Nothing is funny anymore.
It's just, I mean,
tell me a joke. What's the Jimmy? Yeah, Jimmy, tell me a joke. Not funny. I don't know what happened to me.
Cartman's great.
Yeah.
I think Cartman's one of the most iconic cartoon characters ever created.
Funny how we elevate a sociopath, like textbook sociopath.
Because he's a little kid. He's a little kid.
He kills people.
He does. But it's Cartman.
He kidnapped Butters and put him in an underground silo so he could go to what's the name of the Mexican place?
Oh,
that really exists that I went to that was terrible.
In Colorado? Mm-hmm. Casa Bonita?
Casa Bonita. Oh my God.
Well, they did.
Did I talk about when I went there?
You might have. I don't remember.
I went there last year, Memorial Day weekend, and it was the worst thing I've ever had in my life.
Good Mexican.
And it was exactly like South Park. Like, they had a diver. They have a little pool where the guy dives. They had like captain's whatever cave.
How was the food though?
The food was awful. It was the worst Mexican food I've ever had in my life.
Better than like, where would you gauge it?
It would be
better than Taco Bell.
No, this is worse than Taco Bell. Dude, we got fajitas, and everything was microwaved, and they gave us our tortillas in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag that was microwaved. They had margaritas, which was just margarita mix with no booze in it.
They didn't put the tortillas in like one of those plastic things?
No, they just straight threw a plastic bag full of tortillas on, yeah. And I guess what people like, it's, we went there, we saw the demographic, and it was like, they're not the wealthiest of people, and the portions are huge, and you get free sopapillas. So it's like, and the kids, it's something like when you're it's like Chuck E. Cheese pizza. If you eat Chuck E. Cheese pizza now as an adult, it's fucking awful. But when you were a kid, it was this shit.
I know someone who does.
They still likes Chuck E. Cheese pizza. I don't know, man. It's just that I feel like that's whatever. I wouldn't take any food recommendations from that person. Do they listen to the show?
I don't know.
Hey, man, whatever floats your boat.
So it's better than or worse than Acapulco then, huh?
Definitely worse than Acapulco.
And that's like that's like my minimum, like barely passing is Mexican
Acapulco's
food.
Like faking it to make it at least, and they have like the big margaritas, and I haven't had Acapulco in I couldn't even tell you the last time
now I really want Mexican food.
I ate Acapulco, I'm going to say in 2009. That's the last time I actually had food from Acapulco. And I don't even remember what it tasted like.
Like shit?
I remember when I was a little kid, we'd come down to Disneyland, and I'd always want to go to Acapulco. Cause it
looks nice. It looks like the place to be.
We'd always eat at Acapulco because it was like, they don't have those in the Bay Area. That's a SoCal chain like a motherfucker. and it was like, it's fancy inside. They had
That's what I'm saying.
the
It looks
dark
nice.
lighting, and they always, they had the refried beans. You had a chip in your refried beans. Like I remember little things like that, getting the combo. I probably didn't even eat half of it, and I was like, oh, this is great. Oh my god, this is so fun.
Casa Bonita.
And then
maybe that's the joke.
yeah, and then
That's the ultimate joke. Is he's so excited
I-
about it, and you went, and you're like, fuck, man.
yeah,
This place sucks.
it was terrible. Like we didn't finish our food. We just left. But it was good. I'll never go back. It's so cheesy though that I feel like you have to go if you're in Denver.
I would go
just
for that.
because, yeah.
And I'd probably enjoy the food.
Like they have the fountain outside.
I'd
like,
probably
it looks
text
exactly
you
like.
and be like, "This food's great. What are you talking about?"
I don't think you would. I think you'd be offended by it. We're talking about South Park. I was like, how the hell did we get on Casa Bonita? But
we were just talking about how I didn't like Venture Bros.
Right, because Rick and Morty.
Ricky Morty, the audience members, I feel like, at least what I've seen on my own Facebook and what people have shared, I feel like there's more of a, because don't get me wrong, I'm pretentious about certain things, but I feel like there's a certain level of, I don't know.
So last night was the season debut and return of HBO's Curb Your Enthusiasm, starring Larry David. I believe you're a huge fan of Curb.
I am very.
And Larry David. I have not watched that show. I want to say since 2005 or 2006 was the last time I watched it like on a regular basis. I might watch an episode here or there, but that's when I stopped. And not for any particular reason. I just think I was just out like partying and shit and living my life.
Not being a homebody like me.
Not being a homebody, just watching TV and shit. I was out there trying to get laid.
It happens.
But how'd you feel about the episode last night?
I don't know. They're all the same to me. What I mean is it's not like there's a storyline or something where I'm like, oh, I need to tune in this week.
Did it leave off where you like remember it?
It's a continuation.
Okay. Did you get the same feeling that you did when did this show go off the air? When did they stop?
Well, I watched the show for the first time 3 years ago, so it was already off the air.
Oh, so
yeah.
you joined the party late.
Yeah. But my thing is, my biggest takeaway is because of our political climate, the post-Trump world, I guess we're not post-Trump, we're in the Trump now. The post-Obama era is so volatile that normally when Larry David talks about certain things, they're kind of hot-button issues.
Yeah.
And I felt that because of our times, they were relatively tame. I mean, the whole bit about the holding the door open, the lesbian, you should be a bride, you should be a groom. Well, I thought that whole bit was hilarious.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that, and if you take offense to that, then you're the problem. Like you just don't understand comedy. You can't take a step back and laugh at yourself for a second, because there's a joke there. There's a commentary there. He's not saying that that's how it should be, but that's just the joke for an old white guy.
Well, that's his character.
Exactly. But it's commentating on stuff that happened like last year. We're kind of past that, and it's weird because we're moving so fast. That's what I'm saying. That it's had that came out during the whole transgender bathroom situation, because that seems like so long ago, even though it really wasn't. It might have been more of an impact. It might be trending everywhere. Obviously not today after the shooting, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like it might have gone viral. But at the end of the day, it's not me complaining. I like it. I don't care. Whatever he does, I'm gonna watch. If it's Curb, I'm gonna watch it. I just don't care. So
Were you a Seinfeld fan?
Never seen it.
That's
I've only
fucking
seen
funny.
I've only seen a few episodes because of reruns and syndications as a child. Like that was when I usually knew when I needed to go to bed.
when Seinfeld came on,
I'm like, oh, it's late. It's 11 o'clock. Because Seinfeld would always come on when SmackDown was on UPN way back then. However, Seinfeld would come on right after. And I was like, okay, it's time for bed. Because that would be 10 o'clock, whatever, 11 o'clock.
For me, Seinfeld would be on right after afternoon cartoons. So you get home from school, cartoons were over.
Yeah, that around
5 o'clock.
4 or 5, yeah. Then
Seinfeld would go on. That's when you knew it was time to turn off the TV.
Yep.
Until I got to high school, and then I started watching it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. But when I was a kid, it was terrible.
No, see, I haven't watched that. I mean, I probably would. The thing is, laugh tracks really bother me.
Okay.
They really bother me. And I haven't watched enough to get used to it and just ignore it. But it's just,
That's a product of your generation, man. Because when I was a kid, every show had a laugh track, every single one. And I think you just grow up, you're just used to it because every show has it.
Well, my problem is like it's to me
The laugh track has slowly gone away.
the laugh track is an extension of a musical, in my opinion.
Really?
What I mean by that is musicals, I can enjoy the story, but the moment they start singing, unless it's a Disney Pixar movie or where it's an animated film, right?
Right. Well, they're doing shit while they're singing
Exactly.
in the cartoon.
Exactly. But you have Grease or something like that, and it just slows the movie down. It takes me out, and I just can't wait till the song ends. Same thing with the laugh track. The jokes, you can't you can't laugh at them organically. They're telling you what to laugh at.
Yeah.
They add the extra pauses for the unbelievability, and so it's like, man, when I watch them, I'm like, I wish they would have just filmed this normally.
Right.
But at the same time, it's sitcoms. That's the way a sitcom is. I get that. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, that's the whole purpose of Seinfeld, is to make it a sitcom about nothing. I get it. Like, that's for me to not watch it because of that would be ridiculous. I mean, not only is it an iconic show, but that's what it is. I mean, I watched Everybody Loves Raymond and things like that, so it's not like I haven't seen, or King of Queens, and there was one that My Wife and Kids. I really enjoyed that show. I don't know the guy's name, but he's the guy.
With Damon Wayans?
No. You're right. My Wife and Kids is Damon. No, what is the one? Wrong show. Then it's the one with the dude from. You watch Gotham?
No.
Okay, well, you know the characters, right?
No.
Okay, well then never mind. The guy, like the police officer in Gotham, he used to have his own show, and it was like a Boston show with him and his kids,
Right.
him and his wife and kids. I don't know. There was shows I used to watch, and then George Lopez, whatever his show was, I forget. I'm blanking right now, but like that was another one where I could watch and it was funny and I enjoyed it. It's just a weird. It's hard for me to get into. That's all. I want to watch it. I want to watch Seinfeld. Trust me, because it's Larry David's a part of it. I've never really been one to enjoy Seinfeld all that much. Did you see his new stand-up special?
No.
He just made a Netflix stand-up special.
Seinfeld was my least favorite part of Seinfeld. Like the supporting cast of that show is what makes it great. He's funny, but he
has to be. He's obviously funny, otherwise he wouldn't be where he is.
For me, Costanza and
who's Larry David?
Yeah, exactly. Elaine, she's hilarious. I mean Cosmo Kramer,
Obviously he's big.
Yeah, like the show's other characters were just
Newman, right? Newman
was more of a secondary character. He wasn't in every episode.
Well, he wasn't the reoccurring. He was just someone who would pop in, like you said, yeah. But I mean, he's a good. I know who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know these characters. I've seen episodes. It's not like I haven't seen episodes, but I haven't seen it all the way through.
Right. I mean, I'll check out. I tried to watch Norm Macdonald's comedy special, and I've
never really found it to be funny.
Yeah, it wasn't doing it for me, and I feel like some of these older guys that were big in the '80s.
I like him in bit parts, like little roles.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Like,
but the whole special, it wasn't. Doing
I would
it for
never
me.
watch. I would never go to watch him as a lead in anything.
I tried to watch the Tracy Morgan special. I got through like 20 minutes. I thought it was bad as well. So
I haven't seen it.
Some of these guys that were big in the '80s and early '90s, like now I'm kind of like.
Was that post accident?
Post accident, yeah.
I didn't know he was like capable of doing that.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, he's a Netflix special. But it makes me a little apprehensive to watch it. Like I feel like I'm not gonna find it funny. I mean, if I have time, it's gonna be one of those. If I have free time,
well, I didn't finish it. I started to watch it.
I'm gonna put it. What'd you think so far? I mean, how far deep did you get into it?
I don't know, 25 minutes. It was 25 minutes. He told his first joke, apparently his first this is my first joke ever, and that was funny.
Yeah,
that joke his first joke was pretty damn funny.
This was my first joke ever.
That's what the jokes that were there for the first 25 minutes or so were definitely Seinfeld jokes.
They're like
he was playing into the whole Seinfeld thing 100%. What's the deal with whatever?
What's the deal with Mexican soda at an American grocery store?
It is in Mexico. I don't know. That's his thing, and people know that, and he was kind of feeding into that, and that's fine. I think it's cool. At the end of the day, what Netflix is doing is great. It's they're HBO 2.0, and for people who don't know what that means, HBO was the king of comedy forever. It still has importance, but getting on Netflix, I feel like is more important.
It's
now
because more people have Netflix,
right?
Than HBO, and we're in a. It's like a new comedy renaissance.
It really is.
Stand-up comedy's become so much become popular again, where it may have been during the 80s.
Because comedians have TV shows now.
Right.
And
well, they've always
and
had TV shows,
come,
but they don't do sitcoms anymore like they used to. I think the podcast is what's making comedy.
True.
The podcast more than the TV show, because now comedians don't want to do a sitcom because they realize that they're just chasing money and it's kind of cheese. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about it all the time.
I never watched Jared Carmichael's show, but that's also because I don't think he's funny.
He's not funny at all, man. The first time I saw him was in Neighbors. That's the first time I ever saw that guy, and he was not funny in Neighbors.
Because he had a big dick or something. That was his joke.
No, the guy with the big dick was McLovin.
That's right. That's right. I think that was one of the jokes, is they thought he had a big dick because he was the only black guy in the fraternity or something, right?
I don't remember.
Something like that.
That's how not memorable his performance was. I just remember him not being funny.
Hannibal was funny in Neighbors.
Yeah, Hannibal's great. Hannibal's a guy I don't think I could watch for an entire show either. Like if he had his own show.
I've seen him live.
No. His comedy's fine. I was saying if he's did a movie or something.
If he was the lead.
Yeah,
he's a supporting player.
Yeah,
he knows he's a supporting player.
That'd be too much for me.
I could watch him do a show though.
No, his stand-up show's fine. I've listened to his specials.
Well, no, I mean I could see him doing a Louis show.
Could you?
Yeah.
If he's just reenacting some of his bits, maybe.
But he'd have to have a strong supporting cast.
Like his apple juice bit, like his joke about apple juice.
Which is what I don't.
So he has a joke where he's at the grocery store and there's a special on apple juice. So he buys like 20 bottles of apple juice, but he's with his white girlfriend and this old white man is behind them and he looks at him, he shakes his head in disgust, and then Hannibal's doesn't even the joke is about him not even questioning it being about race, about he thinks that the guy's judging him for buying so much apple juice. So he's like, why are you judging me because I'm taking advantage of this special apple juice? Maybe I love apple juice. And then once he left the store, he realizes the reason why he shook his head in disgust was because he had a white girlfriend.
That's kind of like me. I didn't even think about that because I was with him. I'm like, why is he mad about the apple juice? Until you told me, because he was on Joe Rogan just recently, and he was talking about how, he's pretty frugal to say the least.
Yeah. And
I relate to him. I'm like, man, I could probably be this guy's friend, because he was talking about how. Seriously, there's certain people, because I understood his, Joe Rogan was just I don't get it. I just don't understand. Obviously, he has a lot of money and stuff, but Hannibal's not poor, and he was talking about how he took a girl on a date, and he made her buy child tickets.
I heard about that.
He knew it would save $4 each ticket. That's some of the shit. That's what I would do. I haven't done that.
Hannibal Buress takes Uber Pool.
He probably
fucking
does.
Confirmed takes Uber Pool. You piece of shit.
Because of that?
Yeah, because of that.
I don't think he has a car. I think that's his whole thing, is he doesn't have a car. And it's funny because
if I get to a certain level,
Joe Rogan conned him. He clowned him for it because he's like, you own all this property, you're renting out 4 apartments, and yet you don't pay for full price for the movie ticket. And it's little things like that. I'm like, I get it. I get you, man. I totally get it.
See, I'm gonna, if I hit it big, I'm gonna go broke fast because I'm gonna spend my shit like it's on fire.
He also didn't talk to that girl anymore. She just stopped talking to him.
I would stop talking to him too. There's things you can't. That was a Larry David moment. That shit you don't come back from. Anyway, so any last thoughts about Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No. I'm
gonna give it it was fine.
It was a long episode too.
It was pretty long. I feel like some of the jokes were a little on the nose too. Like there was, I feel like maybe the formula, because I watched it. Like I said, I watched the first couple seasons when it came, or I guess I didn't watch the first couple. I watched the middle seasons, but I don't know if the formula's still gonna work. We'll see. And a part of it has to do.
It does.
I'm gonna touch back on one of your opening tips, because he's a little behind. Depends on how relevant the jokes are. If he's still talking about shit from 6 months ago, that might not work for me as much. But it was funny. I'll give it another shot next week.
I think this is the first time where the whole episode I thought they were break. My downside to it is I did not like the amount of times where they clearly were breaking character.
Right.
There was moments where they were laughing, and it wasn't because the situation was funny.
Right.
It was just because they broke character, and then they had to incorporate that into the show.
Right.
I don't know. It's just not normal.
Nah, I get it. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Thanks for listening. You know the drill. We're on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, hit that like, leave us comments, let us know what you think, and we will see you next time. Thanks a lot. Daniel and Gian talk.